Welcome to Book World: The Great Escape. It's Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. I'm CJ Peterson. Down there is Michael Scott Clifton. And let's see if I can point this the right direction because we're mirrored. It's Rosa Garza.
Hi,
We have a visitor today. So, Miss Rosa, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. She's out picking up kids for school. So,
hmm
we're going to be talking comic artist slash illustrator before we get there. How was your week, Rosa?
it's been pretty good so far. Got to go talk to Fern yesterday about deadlines that are coming up. Seems like
Good.
deadlines are like never ending.
Yes, that's not a
yeah,
bad thing.
yeah. No, it's a
Awesome.
good problem to have.
Exactly. That means that
yeah.
you're working and you're still staying busy.
hmm
Mike, how was your week?
It's been a busy one. We've uh, been going back and forth between Longview and Mount Pleasant, just doing some things. Be at the boys' state basketball tournament next weekend.
Hmm.
Been going to that every year since 1989, with the exception of last year's COVID year. That was
Oh,
the only, yeah. So, and then the following week we'll be at the Northwest Arkansas Comic Con in Rogers, Arkansas, home
whew,
of Walmart.
that's a long haul.
It's about 5 hours, but we've been to the Little Rock Comic Con as well. It's about the
Hmm.
same. I think we're going to get there. We're going to get there maybe a day early and make a sort of a little uh, vacation out of it. My wife loves that TV show. What is it? Fixer to Fabulous. That is based actually in Rogers.
Oh, really?
So maybe we'll get to see one of the houses they've restored.
There you go. Well, mine had my mother in law from California for the week. Um, I was very grateful for those con hour podcasts that I had to do and got to enjoy. Let's put it that way. I am blessed with two of them. So, like we said
double the
before,
Okay.
double the fun, right?
yes, my mother's in love. I have one from New York State and one from California, and I'm a Texan, so you do the math. Let's just leave it at that. Uh, so it's been a very interesting week. Before we start, for those who need to kind of pop in and out, we will say this a couple times. Next week we will have no book world, but we will be back then on the 16th of March with author C.I. Chevron, who writes steampunk. So we're pretty excited about that. We get to talk about the steampunk genre. In the meantime, we have Miss Rosa. First of all, Rosa, congratulations on your new little one.
Thank you.
Super excited. You have the benefit of kind of double duty. We were talking about this before we came on. You're a children's book illustrator for Natrix's Peanut Butter and Jam series, but
hmm
you're also a comic artist. Now, is that
Yeah.
going to be like a graphic novel or is that an actual comic book?
Um. So it's leaning more towards a graphic novel.
Hmm.
Um. I took a lot of inspiration from like the Japanese comics, the mangas.
Hmm.
So it's a lot of like chapter based storytelling instead of arcs, like what you would see in like X-Men and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So, for those listening, I know the difference, and I'm pretty sure Mike does too. What's the difference between a graphic novel versus a comic book?
Um. So I mean, I guess I haven't seen like an official definition, but to me, a graphic novel would be kind of set up like a regular novel instead
Hmm.
of just words. I mean, it is separated into chapters, and you can have these giant omnibuses of just pictures and
Hmm.
stuff. Whereas a comic, I mean, it's these thin issues. You get them monthly, and so that's what I think the difference is.
Hmm.
And they're
It's
usually
kind
set
of,
into like these arcs.
yeah. So it's kind of like the chapter book or the graphic novel is the actual book, and maybe
hmm
kind of like the comic book is like one chapter of that.
Right. That's what I
So
think.
it allows you to get it all at once, and they're usually like
hmm
this thick. There's a lot of graphics in there.
hmm
So, as far as you can tell, because like I said, you're an illustrator for a children's book series Peanut Butter and Jam, but you're also the comic artist. What's the basic difference when it comes to illustrating for one versus the other?
Um. So with the children's book, well, working with Natrix, I've learned that the way he likes to do his children's books, he's very specific about the image. I mean, he gives me a manuscript, and he basically gives me the notes of what he wants, but it has to be that one image has to encapsulate everything that he's going to say on that one page.
Mhm.
Whereas with the comic book, I mean, I have several panels that I can get the idea across.
Mhm.
You know,
And like one's more cutesy versus one that's more like action packed.
yeah.
So flipping between the two, like I write for big people is what I call it. I write big people books and I write little people books. So I write for both. Flipping between the two is not as easy as flipping a switch.
No. I mean, he's had to give me notes because I'll still be in comic book mode and I'm supposed to be drawing for little kids, and it's like I made someone a little too curvy on this side.
I never thought of that portion of it.
Yeah, no, that was one of the issues we had with so it would be the third peanut butter and jam book. But he kept saying, I'm making the main character just a little bit too thick. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about the Aztec goddesses. I'm drawing on this side.
Yeah, they're a little too, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Rosa, so with a children's book, if I understand what you're saying, a single picture has to tell a lot. It has to encompass a lot more than, say, a graphic novel where you can have different panels where you're showing the progression of maybe a story or a scene. So,
Yeah.
so which do you find easier to do, the children's illustrations or the graphic novels?
In all honesty, sometimes it just depends on I mean, sometimes if I'm in that children's book mindset, it comes really easy. But like since I'm switching between things, sometimes I'm still stuck in comic book land, and
Okay.
so one or the other can be easier for me. It just depends on what I guess mindset I'm in at the time.
Okay. Well, how did you get your start? I mean, how did you get into doing illustrating children's books and doing graphic novels?
So getting into the whole thing, I went to, I guess it would have been my second Comic Con that I was trying to kind of branch out on my own. And I met Fern at it, and she hired me to do a comic book for her, and that's how I got started with Inklings. And then with Inklings, so since I was already with Inklings, I would go to Comic Palooza with them, and that's when I met Natrix. It was like our third Comic Palooza together, and I met Natrix, and he hired me to do his early readers, and then he gave me the main series.
Okay.
I got up a second ago because I have Natrix's books. So here's some examples of, the peanut butter and jam series that she did, and they're really cute.
So that is that the first book?
This one is, hold on. This one is the story of friendship.
Yeah, so I'm actually redoing the art for that one. He had a different illustrator at that point. So I took over for her.
Okay. Then I need to go grab the other book. I'll be right back. Keep talking.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
So,
but that's actually the plan for this year.
Okay. So have you always liked to draw and to create pictures? Is that something you?
No. So my mom and dad say that I've been drawing since I was a tiny little kid. My uncle is actually my biggest inspiration. He's the other artist in the family, and but his artwork is way different. He does like a lot of heavy metal inspired stuff.
Okay.
Yep, that's me.
So these are, they're definitely cuter. More cute. More cute. The what's the correct term? More cute or cuter? They're more adorable, I guess. I like the ones where the animals have like the big eyes. So
yeah,
they're like sad eyes, so to speak. So yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Very much. Yeah, I think he needs to redo the first one, but not that I'm saying that hers are bad. Just yours are adorable.
Yeah, no, well, and that is the plan, so that we can have everything be kind of oh my gosh, what's the word? I'm sorry, that mommy brain is still. Yeah, consistent. There we go.
Just kind of consistent within the things. Yeah. I know I changed over illustrators because Chief and Sarge's first one was Waleed Ahmad, And
Mhm.
then Davy Jones is now doing them, and he's just
Mm.
leaps and bounds ahead. Not that there's anything wrong with Waleed's, it's just
Mhm.
his were more my style that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And so, choosing an illustrator can, make the huge difference between one versus, making a
Mhm.
story pop, so to speak.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, and that's why usually when people ask if when people are interested in working with me, I try to show them what I do
Mhm.
before, just to make sure that we're on like the same
Yeah.
Yeah.
wavelength
Page. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff as far as what the illustrations are gonna look like.
Yeah. It's kind of like this
Mhm.
is the difference between
Mhm.
this is Waleed's versus Davies. Even in the logos, you can see the difference.
Yeah.
So, when you're choosing an illustrator, it's not an easy task.
Mm-mm.
So, people who want to find you online and, talk to you about illustrating, how can they find you online?
So I do have a Facebook, but mostly I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
That's usually where I post all my stuff and then kind of just repost it on Facebook. I started doing TikToks as well. So if you're interested in seeing like the speed drawing
Mm-hmm.
of like where it starts from a sketch to a finished thing, you can check out my TikTok. It's all under the same name, artist RM Garza.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
kind of cool. I just started on TikTok. I'm gonna confess I don't know what I'm doing on it, but I'm having fun with it. And I would have never thought of like speed doing an
Mm-hmm.
actual illustration. That's craziness.
Yeah. And the program that I use already records what I'm doing, so it's like it's easy. I just take the video and put it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Rosa, so if there's people watching that are interested that maybe they're artists or they're like you, they like to draw and
Mm-hmm.
if they might be interested in doing illustrations or for comic books or for graphic novels, what are some of the things that you uh, would suggest or give them advice and what you have learned so far? What would be your
Mm-hmm.
advice to them?
So definitely like keep posting your stuff. Like really put yourself out there. Sorry, she woke up.
That's
Okay.
okay.
Um. So yeah, just keep putting yourself out there. What worked for me was being at the Comic Cons and networking with people
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
Right.
And I got really lucky meeting Fern, but that was again just putting myself out there, which is kind of hard when you're kind of shy,
Yeah.
which I definitely am.
But you're doing very well. I know you were a
Thank
little
you.
Sure.
concerned with that. You're doing very well.
Yeah.
And so it's not easy.
Mhm.
So do you suggest maybe having some kind of a portfolio, so to speak?
Yeah. So I actually still carry around my portfolio. Like I try to update it every once in a while, but I still have stuff that I'm really proud of from high school, just to
Mhm.
kind of show my range
Okay.
and
Now,
stuff. Yeah.
how many illustrations do you recommend in a portfolio?
Um, the one I carry around, I keep like maybe 10 to 15.
Mhm.
If you have your sketchbook, I mean that's even easier to just carry around and show everyone. That I mean
Mhm.
it's your most recent work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you had to choose, and I know it's like choosing, your favorite child sort of thing, which one do you enjoy doing more? Children's books or comics?
um. Yeah, that is kind of like Sophie's choice. um. No, but in all honesty, comics were always my passion.
Mhm.
I mean, I love comics. I have like I don't know how many comics at home,
Very
and
cool. So
yeah.
what's your favorite comic?
Oh man, that's hard. But
See, I'm asking the hard questions today.
yeah, you are asking the. Oh man. Actually, I think it would have to be. So there's these comics that came out a long time ago. I don't even think that they're still running, but it's it's called Out There by
I've never heard
Humberto
of it.
Ramos. He was the artist, and it was a really cool it was a really cool story. It was about these four high school kids that stumble upon this conspiracy in their town. That it turns out the mayor's in like cahoots with a demon, and so it was really out
Wow.
there. I mean, it was a perfect name, but it was. I loved the illustrations. I loved the story. It was awesome.
Now, about how long does it take you to do like a comic sketch versus a children's book sketch? On the average, not like clocking you, but on an average.
Mhm. No, so like with Natrix's stuff, like the from sketch to completed illustration, it would take me, depending on how much detail he wanted, maybe 2 hours to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with a comic book panel, with a comic book page, I mean, that can take me from like 4 to 6 hours and stuff.
Now,
and then I just started, because I was doing my comic traditionally, so that was with markers and colored pencils and stuff, and that was taking even longer. It was like a day's worth of work. Yeah.
Well, and that's going to ask you about your process, because we had Nancy Durham on last week, and what she did was she did some illustrations. She's like phenomenal for pencil sketches. It looks like an actual photograph. But she did some of the sketches that were in some of Mike's books. And she said she does like the pencil and then the ink and then goes from there. What is your process in creating the graphics?
So I actually have kind of switched over to all digital. So I use Procreate, which has actually helped my workflow a lot. Like it's cut down some of the time. Which is why I switched my comic over to digital. But like with Fern's comic, Landon, I do all of that traditionally. And it's the sketching, sketch first, then inking, then markers and pencils to put in the details.
Kind of like on a lighted table or something like that. I think that's what Davey does.
So Landon's, I'm doing all in one sketchbook, so that we keep everything together. So in the sketchbook, when she scans it in, it kind of gives it that weathered look and stuff. So it helps, since that story is more horror based.
Kind of gives it that old fashioned kind of feel to it. That's pretty cool. So even like the materials that you're working with, you can create effects.
Yeah. So I kind of look at all of that stuff when I'm picking how I'm gonna do something. Yeah.
Now, how long have you been drawing? I know people are gonna say from wee little kid, but how long have you been seriously drawing?
Like seriously drawing? Well, okay. So professionally, I think it's been about 6-7 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, do you do book covers too, or do you just do like interior graphics?
No. So right now it's just the interior. I have been giving a shot at book. It's just, again, that's like a whole different.
Yeah.
That's a whole different beast.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, where'd she go? We lost her. She probably will come back. There you are. There you are. Hi.
Oh gosh.
I love technology. It's all good.
So Rosa, how hard was it to go from traditional traditional artwork
Mike,
with
CJ, are you still there?
We're here. Can you hear us?
Oh no.
We're here.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Okay.
There you are.
Can you hear us? We can hear you.
Don't think so.
I think she's gonna have to go out and come back in. Okay. So Mike, do you have any comments or anything while I talk to her online? Oh, she bounced out. She'll be back.
Well, what I was going to ask her is the traditional way of creating artwork, illustrations for comic books, for children's books, or for graphic novels, as opposed to. There you are. Are you back?
Can you hear us now?
I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry.
We can hear you and we can see you, but that,
yeah.
It's live. It's all good. We roll with it. So Mike had a question.
So what I was going to ask you, Rosa, is you mentioned that I'm assuming you started out with the traditional pen and ink and markers with your artwork and your illustrations, but now you're using a digital, I'm sure a digital app to do your artwork. So tell us a little bit how that works, how hard it was to transition from the just the traditional way and moving on to digital.
So it was kind of it was a little difficult, because at first I was still doing sketches in my sketchbook, then scanning it in, and then using a a program that I had on my computer. I started off with Photoshop, and then switched over to Clip Studio Paint, and it was just trying to draw with that tablet, and then looking at the screen. It was kind of hard. Once I got the iPad, it was like drawing on paper again.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So you said initially you started with Natrix because you found him at a Comic Con, and then how did you run across Inklings? Is it the same Comic Con type idea?
Yeah. So actually I met Fern first at, it was Space City Comic Con. I know
Mhm.
it's no longer around. And then with Fern, I would go to the comic conventions with her.
Mhm.
And one year, Natrix was walking around Comic Palooza, and then he came by our table and he saw my artwork.
Mhm. So
So-
basically, just getting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you are a vendor at some of these Comic Cons, or
Mhm.
okay. So I was going to ask you about that, about your original artwork. Is that in addition to what you do for others? Do you like? I guess what I'm saying is, you sell original artwork.
Like,
So
do
I
you do
used to do
commissions?
yeah. So I used to do commissions. I mean, I still do commissions, and I wouldn't do like fan art on my own time and sell prints of that
Right.
and stuff. And now mostly I just kind of stick to stickers, so that it's stickers and then the whatever book I'm working on.
Okay.
Nice.
Mhm.
Okay.
Very cool.
Good.
So, do you have any advice for any aspiring artists who would like to break into, what you're doing?
Yeah. So I mean, I know it's probably cliche, but like, just keep putting yourself out there and stuff. Practice every day, that kind of stuff. But really, the networking is what helped me
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So I mean, if you can join groups, or even submit your own stuff to some of these places, have open submissions. Submit your stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
the worst they can say is no.
and
Right.
Comic
Right.
Cons. I mean,
And
Comic
Comic
Cons.
Cons, yeah.
I was actually just at St. Angelo Comic Con a couple weeks ago, and one of the
Mhm.
artists there did a drawing for one of the guests and gave it to him. So it's,
Yeah.
That's kind of a unique way to kind of get it
Mhm.
out there. And then, of course, if the con hour is there, you can flag us down and we'll interview you. So,
Yeah.
that's always a plus. Get you some more
Yeah.
exposure, and then you get a hold of us on Book World. So, yeah, it's all in the
Mhm.
connections that you have, and getting out there and being noticed.
Yeah.
So,
No,
have
the
you
other
ever?
thing that I had wanted to try to do was there's this other thing called Webtoon, and
Mhm.
they have a thing where you can submit your own comics and stuff. And
Have
there's
you
been a lot of people that break through on there.
have you ever considered like Fiverr or anything like that?
I'm kind of on the fence with Fiverr, just because I mean you kind of underprice yourself, and I mean, it's what you're doing is hard work
Mhm.
and stuff. So that's the only issue I have with Fiverr.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you? I know you mentioned that you're doing stuff for Natrix and you're doing stuff with Fern. So,
Mhm.
which one's next, and then what's after that? Because I know there's a comic book, well, the graphic novel we're talking about coming out
Mhm.
soon, and you mentioned Natrixes. When are those coming out?
So right now the plan is for I believe the redraw of Natrix's book is a first book.
Mhm.
We're planning on trying to get that out for December. Um, I I also believe that Fern's next comic, the Landon's Library, we're
Mhm.
also trying to get that out for December.
Mhm.
And then my own comic, which I'm still working on, also trying to get that out. So a lot of stuff coming out in December.
Yeah, well, that's the time for everything to come out. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but in the meantime, we have a few minutes left. Is there anything you would like to add?
Um, no. No, but if you have any questions for me.
Well, Rose, are there any events you're going to be at, like some Comic Cons or?
Oh, so I do know that there's supposed to be. I haven't gotten all the details yet, but Fern did mention that there is a Comic Con in April for Fort Bend ISD.
Mhm.
That I'm gonna show up at. I was gonna stop by this weekend actually at St. Arnold's for a little bit with Natrix. just really to pop in and say hi because I have the baby, but I'll be there.
Okay.
And then of course Comic Palooza in July.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I know those are the three main things coming up.
Very cool.
Okay.
Mhm.
So for other
Okay.
people who want to find you, you go to Instagram,
Mhm.
and it is artist, ARTIST, RM Garza, GARZA. That's how you can find her and find her stuff on Instagram. She does have a pretty cool Instagram. I am following her, so
Thanks.
I'm aware of what it looks like. But give her a follow. In the meantime, know that remember, there is no Book World next week. We will not be on next week. However, we'll be returning back on make sure I get the date correct, 16th of March with author C.I. Chevron, and we're going to be talking about the steampunk genre. I'm excited about that. I think that's a very unique genre, and I actually like its style, so I'm pretty excited about that. But in the meantime, Mike, is there anything you would like to add?
No, it's just thank you, Rosa, and good luck in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Sounds like your plate's full for a while.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Definitely. Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you for talking to us and about the difference between a children's illustrator versus, a comic illustrator. That kind of gives us a different perspective than even the one we had with Nancy last week. So
No, well, thank you guys for having me on.
Oh
This
yes.
was really fun.
awesome. Well, until then, we will see you guys in 2 weeks on the 16th